beginning who learned very, very quickly that Wolverine was a duelist who benefited into taking fights against vanguards rather than strategists, which everyone sort of assumed given the dive-in nature of the Wolverine's ability kits, as we can have a look diving in to our advanced pick and ban system. So Qadsiah right off of the rip going to be able to secure one-sided Magneto. Team Peps likely going to be using this first save to block Qadsiah banning out an Emma.
Hell's Heaven, the random map that was assigned to the teams on this first domination. Team Peps really just setting the standards so far, halfway into the pick ban draft. But Loki banned out into there's going to be a bit of a swap around, maybe just a mirror of the lunar snows being removed here. But Psylocke is hovered from Qadsiah. I guess Leaf and Hardest can be very scary on the duelist lines, and actually the Wolverine is going to be taken out and forced away completely from Helis.
Yeah, Qadsiah Helis' Wolverine is definitely something that you do not want to leave up onto the table. Beetle, though, has been able to keep the Captain America currently in play, as Team Peps are also going to be able to prioritize the Ultron. They're going to be potentially going for a triple strategist lineup there. So it doesn't matter that they've lost out the Loki, they might just try and go for something like the Cloak and Dagger, the Mantis, and the Ultron all combined together, as they're not going to be able to have the Luna. But one thing that Qadsiah are going to be able to protect is Tilt's Punisher.
Seems that that's like the sensible choice, really. If they don't go for the Punisher here, it's likely to be last banned out from Team Peps. Is there anything that looks like an outlier here? Is that sort of standard?
Mag.
It's not quite the
Qadsiah
same.
got Punisher and Mag, and Peps don't have the Magneto on the other side.
Most of it, yeah, has been like the mirror of the Emma Frost. But last week, we did have a lot of the alternating. You get one, we get the other. Is the synergy... obviously, it's that strong. But I guess it's the fact that Magneto synergizes with literally everybody with those like iron bulwarks. And then...
If Magneto is in the game, Punisher becomes weaker, is the thing, because you have essentially the 50-50 of Punisher can overload the Meteor M, but if the Magneto is able to come and prove the reaction check pass and rolls a nat 20, you're able to immediately chuck that one-shot potential directly on top of the Punisher, and we've actually been seeing in all of the regions Meteor M to absorb that first burst of the Final Judgment into multiple players all getting picked because of how much resources goes into caring for that Punisher. Remember, it's not just the Final Judgment that comes out from the team of the Punisher, it's the Eternal Bomb too. And if the Cloak and Dagger is mid-dash, suddenly you don't have the ability to duck teleport out of the meteor hurtling straight for your face.
So we're at least seeing a potential lean towards the Magneto pick that's coming in. We have one spot left for a top 8 finish here in the EMEA Ignite tournament. Playoffs abound for one of these two squads. Beetle going to be on the Doctor Strange to begin with, to just go for the portal play. Kai is going to be doing a very similar thing. We've seen some really nice Doctor Strange that Aya Bagamoto plays, and for these two you're expecting a lot. The counter portal was actually going to be used to try to cut off exactly where Team Peps were looking to fight from, but nothing really came of it.
By the way, Larry has committed. We have actual jab strats. Jab strats were used by Rad to keep the pressure on Fi with the Human Torch, and Helis now is going to be feeling that heat turned onto him. DAP and Beetle both able to come through, immediately catching onto the win condition. Punisher removed from that fight, as with that strange teleport, Peps had the lay of the land. Both the high ground and the ability to out-tempo Qadsiah, as they all came through from a very small space.
I have it my way.
Ultimates-wise, you're looking at Larry that's actually made the most progress, because he has just been healing up all of this trash damage that's been coming in from Qadsiah. With so much of the damage coming in from the skies, Larry just being able to pull people out of dodge might actually be useful with the It's Jeff ultimate so far. Kaya just wanted to try and make some headway, but he gets sort of interrupted, cut up by Team Peps, who have managed to take this fight really away from the point as it's progressing past the third point, really. Making good progression. Fate of both worlds from Lidstrom's going to be used. It's Jeff also going in onto this engagement on top of it.
Lindstrom is able to come and prove the fate of both worlds to give the damage boost to Kaya, for the Maelstrom takes Larry down. Mid is Jeff before he could find his way to the fire pit, but DRP are going to be taking out Qadsiah down before they can even take themselves over to that point. Eternal Bond and Psionic Seduction both invested. Healers comes on through with the later Supernova. Eye of Agamotto also comes out from Kaya, catching onto Aura Stealer and Leaf. The Mantis removed through the Soul Resurgence as out surges till Final Judgment clears the space, but can Qadsiah actually find the flip?
Still no progression made from Qadsiah. It was a nice final judgment to push people back, and the eliminations are still like in their favor. Now it's just 82%. The Peps have managed to get onto the board. Not quite 99%, but Qadsiah, after that fight, probably hoping that they could have done things a little bit more acutely than they did.
They should be able to survive, though, this next fight. Hardest is the only one, really, for Team Peps with a win condition, but that can be shut down quite easily by the Meteor M hanging above Peps' head, with the threat of if they try to follow up from that Winter Soldier's ultimate opening things. Qadsiah also making sure that they have their back to the point so they can drop down if the pressure becomes too much. Terra Cape comes on through, though, catches Milk Boy. Out goes the Meteor M threat. Suddenly, Hardest is on high alert. He doesn't even need to utilize the full duration of the Kraken impact. He can just find the shots off the Rotterstone.
Yeah, resets not really needed, but the fight is still good now as that 82% is now tricking to 92%. Beetle managing to take out Kaya, so any form of like portal play, not think it's going to be available, but Meteor M now thrown out, taking a lot of the damage with it, but the elimination not quite there. Psionic Seduction from DRP just keeping people away from this objective into the Jeff pickup with the ult. He's only managed to grab one, but he's going to pull him into the fire and flames regardless. Fate of both worlds for Lindstrom, for Qadsiah, trying to keep things contested, but they almost just jumped off with the point. You could see exactly how much Team Peps are trying to knock them back, but they're still fighting, clambering on to these two vanguards. Kaya just trying to find whatever they can. It's going to be a while before we see the Eye of Agamotto, and Hardest just trying to cut on beyond. Beetle, taken out of the fight, is able to put a portal not only to help him get in, but to add something else to stop Qadsiah taking this fight, but they're able to actually take the point.
Keyless gets to come back after being abducted by Larry's Edge Jeff, which Beetle actually shields to make sure that the Jeff survives the plight into the fiery pits below. Now, though, Qadsiah finally finding that flip. Finally having the space where this composition really shines. Heelless on this torch is going to be so annoying for Team Peps to have to just get through the gauntlet of poke pressure that the torch is able to output the second that they try and stack through those small corridors. And Team Peps already counter-rotating farther away. Beetle's got the Eye of Agamotto. Qadsiah trying to keep up the pressure onto the Strange so he doesn't get the confidence to go for it. A good sleep onto Heelless means that the Strange is going to be stabilized by Larry, but the dive bomb stops the Strange from regrouping with his team. He's forced outside of the small room, and Qadsiah capitalized with the Meteor M, stopping any follow-up from the Eye.
Oh man, Beetle was taken out just as the Eye of Agamotto was used. Hardest also using the Kraken's impact, but he's just backed up into a corner. Psionic Seduction, it's not really mattering because this final judgment is just shredding through Aura Steelo. 3 ultimates used by Team Peps. 4 actually with Larry that's managed to at least attempted to kidnap a couple more to throw them into the furnace, but they are able to survive. Qadsiah managing to turn what looked like a pretty bleak fight against them back into a potential overtime switch with Team Peps not able to contest.
Qadsiah managing to win that first round. It did look a little bit rough. There was a little bit of time where they had to sort of figure out what composition they were playing into, because what team in this current season expects Jeff strategies? Gone is the duelist flank Jeff that you would pair up with a Captain America and a Psylocke. Now we get reworked Jeff, where Larry gets to utilize Joyful Splash to joyfully heal your allies and not so happily damage your opponents. But Heelless is able to find a way around it. They're able to really find the pocket that the Punisher is looking for. And the second that they win just one singular fight, that's all they need for the crossfire, for the amount of angle control that is afforded to both the Punisher and the Torch, to just be too offensive, too aggressive for Peps to be able to overcome.
5, 4,
Healer's taken a lot of the attention before. We've just played the melee characters, some of which were in the pick ban draft. This Human Torch, along with a combination of just this Invisible Woman, really getting a lot of damage in for free. This was Qadsiah last time, not really catching all that much with the strategy playing around their portal beforehand. Going for more of a simple, straightforward option to try and contest first.
Aura Stealer on the Invis Woman now, looking for the force physics to deny a connection from that Eye of Agamotto. We've also potentially looking for a grab onto Kaya. Out comes the Wolverine. He's not able to find the Vada he's looking for. Has to immediately pop that passive just to make sure that he doesn't go down. Supernova from Qadsiah forces Peps to make a big step backwards. Hardest the space that he has to work with diminished massively. Kaya gets to use the Eye of Agamotto to punish them when they have to walk back to the point to stop the cap from coming on through, but still no picks.
Nothing's really being done. You can see Qadsiah having to scramble in this fight. It's not even been taken by either team. The invisible boundary is going to try to capitalize on top of Qadsiah's positioning, but Final Judgment from Till not afraid to be aggressive. It's not led to any eliminations on the side of Qadsiah, but Team Peps finding the picks, finding a two-piece with the Eye of Agamotto, and the follow-through is perfect. The Team Peps to be taking this point first. However, they took the first point first last time, and it didn't really all amount to all that much.
True, but this enclosed space can be both good and bad for the Torch. If you're in control of the space, it's brilliant because it means that a lot of your kit, including Pyro Prison, is going to be shutting down a lot of the angles that the opposing team want to have. If you're playing into retake, though, that ceiling fan is going to be very annoying in terms of the space that healers can find. Going to have to be a full pinch play coming on out from Qadsiah right now. Lindstrom is going to have the fate of both worlds, but we need to see Healer's POV. He's already all the way around the back, but that sets him up to get scout checked by the Wolverine, and Leaf is playing anti-air Logan.
It's a nice switch, and it's almost a little bit of rubbing the noses of Qadsiah in it, considering they're not able to pick it up themselves. We know that Leaf is able to do a lot of work onto whatever type of duelist shows up. And with Team Peps making 50% on the board, Ultimates building up very nicely, having one for each of the roles, and Aura Stealer not too far away from having the invisible boundary to go alongside.
Map change comes on first, starts at 50%, stops at 60%. Force comes out until everything has settled, and now out comes the Punisher turrets. Fully shielded on up from both sides. Tilt does have that final judgment. Lindstrom with the fate of both worlds can look for the damage boost, but they have to look for the Wolverine first. Leaf is out, finds nothing. Out comes the final judgment. There is the bolster, the damage boost. And Lindstrom is able to keep the Punisher going and going and going, and Peps are falling beneath the focus bar.
Forced out some pretty big and nice ultimates, 3 of them total from Qadsiah, but the other 3 are available for whatever next fight might show up. The Team Peps consolidate what they have. They might be kind of happy that they've got to 90%, but it was 82% on the last point. Yet again, Qadsiah just having this resurgence in order to take these fights later on. Kaya trying to get aggressive, has the Eye of Agamotto, so doesn't want to overdo it, just trying to bait out some of these like shields, the mitigation, the things that are going to stop him from connecting nicely onto these picks. But Hardest is the one that's just holding down the W key, mostly focusing over the healers that does a terrific job of diving out and surviving.
Yeah, the terrain works against the Punisher. Kaya comes on through with an Eye of Agamotto, but gets Eye of Agamotto in return. Una reverse guard is played, but Healers is able to make sure that his Strange is avenged. Out comes the Supernova. Team Peps trying to keep themselves on point. Torch dives on out, trying to peel for his Invis, but it's not in time. Leaf takes Susan Storm down. The sibling not able to find the saving moment. Larry with an aggressive Eternal Bomb denies the space with Qadsiah's backline. We're playing in thinking that they were safely removed from this fight, and Team Peps are finding the picks. Qadsiah are down. We go 1-1.
Fitting the theme of today, Moxie, of just very close series, full free mappers, even full free pointers over on these domination maps to start us off. It's ending on the Eldritch Monument. And so far, if you have to lead a particular way, is there a team that you're like looking at of having the advantage? Because Healers has been terrific. I'm really impressed with how well he's been doing over on the Human Torch. Might consider swapping over to the Storm from the looks.
Yeah, Storm is going to be able to have that goddess boost as we're going to be seeing it's Punisher versus Punisher. It's Pocket versus Pocket coming for right now. However, there's one-sidedness for both sides. One side has the Magneto to be able to use Meteor M to stop the final judgment from the other team. And suddenly, Larry for Team Peps, they may not have the Magneto, but they've got the Cloak and Dagger. So it looks like it's actually going to be a Storm versus Storm. Both Leaf and Heels very experienced, very much known for playing this specific duelist. It's gonna be up to the Punishers to find maximum amounts of value, but given that Qadsiah are already starting with the final judgment, it feels fitting that they're going to be the ones potentially to pick up this first flip. Although Team Peps might be going for an aggressive tempo play before the final judgment finds its footing.
Team Peps has taken the point first on all of the maps so far, but Qadsiah forced to use Fate of Both Worlds quite early on. Should be able to cap this point at least to begin with. It might not be by much. It's the fact that Support Ultimate was almost just ushered out in this engagement. Final Judgment's going to be the real thing that Tilt wants to get out early, not realizing that the Support Ultimates aren't quite available just yet for the strategists. Is going to try to pull it out, break down these Vanguard shields as much as he possibly can, and it is translating into eliminations for them.
Oh, that's so unfortunate. Aura Stealer isn't able to put the Invis boundary down in time. The Invis's health bar was plummeting and did not receive the heal tick. As final judgment shredded through, Team Peps were patting themselves on the back, thinking that with that aggressive TP at the beginning, they'd been able to force to split Lindstrom and Tilt's ultimate cycle, but it's not enough. They don't have the damage to be able to take Tilt down before Aura Stealer falls. Team Peps this time around, though, should be able to find the flip. They've got their own final judgment, and Larry's got an eternal bond to make sure that they find the in directly into Qadsiah's team.
Still a bit unfortunate on the timing, setting up the turret as it resurfaces into a low ground hold. Hardest trying to make the most of this change up, and lots of ultimates tackled on top of each other. Hardest, though, finding the majority of the picks, but still needs to switch this objective over towards Team Peps' side. Meteor M gonna go in, seeing if he can find a particular cover, and he tries to wait out the shift away from the cloak, but not quite able to get much damage off the back of it anyway. Regardless, Qadsiah are doing a really nice job. Terrific work in keeping hold of this for now as it passes the 80% mark.
Okay, we're going back to that min-max afterwards because that was a lovely utility, but we can't slow down because the spider's not stopping at any point. I have Agamotto from Peps. Qadsiah will be able to live it with the Fate of Both Worlds. The Sustainer's going to get answered back by Aura Seal, and everyone closed on up in one specific location means a field day for a Mega Hurricane to hit. Tilt on his turret is not going to be able to survive the storm atop his head, and Team Peps with the Goddess boost should be able to finalize these picks coming on first, but Qadsiah's stubbornness has brought them 99%, and unfortunately for Peps, the writing might be on the wall in the next fight. Tilt's got final judgment, Maluki's got Invis boundary. Peps need to take the Punisher down before Larry gets removed from Eternal Bond early.
Vanguard's very close to having their ultimates. Larry sat over on the Eternal Bond. And Hardest set up with the turret up on the high ground. It's going to maybe help him get up to that 100% mark for the final judgment, but it does feel like it's a little bit of a gold rush to see what can be grabbed first and what picks can come through early. DRP taking a lot of this initial damage, able to survive for the time being, but the invisible boundary is potentially going to pull Team Peps into a fight that they really don't want to be taking. The final judgment coming in from Tilt is going to be matched on the other side, and Hardest is the one that finds the eliminations. He finds 5 of them as Team Peps holding on for this point. Still a way to go, but that's an incredibly clean fight.
Incredible final judgment comes out from Hardest. He's been the hero for Team Peps time and time again when they've had that wall back pushed against a wall. Milkboy now does have that Meteor M. They don't need to use it to try and win the coin flip of reaction against that Punisher. Gillis with the Omega Hurricane can kick things off too. Aura Stealer is going to be forced into having to use this Invis boundary to keep everyone alive, and that's exactly what the Magneto wants with the one-shot capability. Leaf kicks things off yet again. Healers tries to mirror the Omega Hurricane at the same time. Leaf goes for the interception, but Healers with the overhold, and both of the Storms survive.
Not really able to do much. A bit of a stalemate when it came to the Omega Hurricanes mirroring one another. Hardest 60% on having another final judgment, considering it was only used about what, like 60 seconds ago. It's an impressive look. If you can get Lindstrom to use that Fate of Both Worlds early, that would be major. Qadsiah now pretty much having to be forced into a fight. Eye of Agamotto going to be used, not quite getting much when it comes to connections, but it does force the invisible boundary out. Meteor M trying to loom down over on the picks, but it's Qadsiah that lose people first, and Peps are finding a lot more off the back of the Psionic Seduction. Hardest 2% away from that final judgment, gonna use it as soon as it's available. And Qadsiah, the fight back was nice, but Team Peps from 0% against 99 hold on and take the first map.
Okay, we're talking for the min-maxing that Peps just did because, oh my goodness, chef's kiss strategist lineup. So, that Meteor M in that last fight, blocked by a Guardian Shield. Amazing play from Oracilla right there. We're returning back to the Meteor M before though, because we saw the cloak phase from Larry, we saw the dark teleportation, but there's a moment where Peps don't know if they used it early because the Magneto goes for the overhold, trying to just outthink the Cloak and Dagger's utility, and then the smart play comes on through. Hardest breaks Dark Teleport to go up on his Punisher turret, which has a separate HP bar to himself, and then because he's still counted as a player, Oracilla puts the Guardian Shield in front of the Punisher turret so that the Meteor M hits that instead.
Holy moly. I mean, Oracilla was the player that we said to watch, but it's, I mean, you are a strategist player, so I guess this is the kind of stuff that, like, you live for, frankly. It did require Team Peps to just really pull themselves up by the bootstraps in the final fight. They really didn't have all that much, just a couple of ultimates in a dream to hold on to what looked like an unrelenting, unstoppable force for Qadsiah. But I think when it comes to, like, the players, you're looking at Team Peps and you're kind of going, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I think Leaf had a terrific map so far. Hardest naturally is going to be the one to be watching over on this Punisher. It suits him to a T. And Helis had to, like, was quietened down, I think, was silenced a little bit on a little bit of the second point, but certainly the third.
Yeah, I mean, that second point, Qadsiah, the second that they had to play into retake, they were playing split. So even though you have the invis coming on through, you don't have the LOS of the invis with the Guardian Shield application. The only thing that you're relying on as the Human Torch to receive any element.
Change it all now that we know that we're going to symbiotic service.
Yeah, avoid convoy. Avoid convoy like the plague. Step number 1, ticked off. Do not allow Team Peps a map type that allows them to go for a close hold around your spawn. They take us to Convergence. Now we're going to see whether or not the bans are going to change, because there were some definite targeted bans against certain players. Healers deprived of the Wolverine, forced over towards the Torch. Let's see if Qadsiah change anything up in terms of trying to prevent Peps' game plan.
Well, the Magneto was left open to them last time. Although it was on the other side for Qadsiah, wasn't it not? So, bit of a switcheroo so far from some of the stuff that was blocked. The Team Peps, I mean, Hardest is just screaming, okay, save Punisher, save Punisher. And Qadsiah probably like, ban Punisher, because that combination felt strong, but it wasn't Thanos, right? It wasn't just like Exodia, the game ended. There was a little bit of a fight back from Peps, at least. Yeah,
but the problem is if you take a Hardest off of the Punisher, he gets to play the Winter Soldier. And Bucky is still very, very strong, especially if you can find opportunities of hooking multiple players with the Bionic Hook. As no surprises, Team Peps are actually going to be removing the Wolverine yet again against Qadsiah, so Helis has denied one of his normal duelists that he is known for. What do Peps try and save? Do they lock the Punisher? No, they lock the Ultron.
They tried a little bit with the triple support over on Hell's Heaven, but it was with a Jeff. It was a little bit odd. I wouldn't say that that's why they lost the first point at all, but Qadsiah at least able to remove the Cloak and Dagger, which was annoying for sure, but we've already seen that Oracilla is able to make the Invisible Woman work so well with some of the combinations that came in. A protection for a Silent for Qadsiah would be interesting, as it gives Helis something more melee focused to play for, but instead, probably more sensibly, they're going for the Lunar Snow Stave.
Yeah, so Luna is actually going to force Team Peps now into having to ban a couple of different things. Kaya is known for playing the Captain America on Symbiotic Surface. He played it literally Season 1 before a lot of teams even discovered that Captain America was very strong, so I'm not surprised to see it go. But what that does leave on the field is Luna and Psylocke. And given the fact that Peps locked Ultron as a flyer, Psylocke is going to be very happy indeed, because Psylocke is your go-to duelist counter to anything in the sky.
It's looking a very dive-centric comp. Is Captain America specifically very good on Symbiotic Service, or just very good full stop?
Very good full stop. Very strong ultimate with Freedom Charge, being able to deny a lot of breakpoints from the other team. It essentially utilizes a third strategist ultimate, sometimes a fourth strategist ultimate, given your composition lineup. And then also the fact that, as we saw in the previous series, where like Welsh Mania is going on through, and just being an absolute menace of a Spider-Man to J. Jonah Jameson proportions. You do not want to be a backline strategist player having to deal with a Captain America who's literally getting to reflect back all of your CC projectiles at you.
I think Kaya was looking to be picking up the Venom, at least what we saw tentatively. Granted, that can obviously change. No, in fact, Kaya's going to be staying onto it. Portal used to scout out some information and even dedicating to just throw off Milk Boy off of the map entirely.
That might actually have thrown off Qadsiah's game. It's definitely thrown off the tempo that they have, which is really bad news for healers and Tilt. Without that Emma being able to walk the core forward, they're going to have to really not get scouted out on these longer rotations when they want to try and deprive some of the attention from where that Emma is going to be playing from. Peps breaking the terrain too, have an immediate bird's eye view into where Qadsiah's players were trying to rotate, and Tilt is not going to get past the torches too on top of things. The scout check reveals the duelist, and that flank is denied.
Yeah, it's the torches in the sky just dancing around each other. The only elimination that's coming so far was Milk Boy falling off of the map, but is now trying to find a way in for Qadsiah to be able to take this point, but a lot of time is being bought. It feels like both teams are almost flirting with each other so far in how these engagements have happened, notably because ultimates aren't quite on the board just yet. It's looking like an invisible boundary for Larry's winning the line when it comes to being available. Maluki wasn't that far behind either, but hardest to find in the pick. It allows everybody else to start dropping for Qadsiah, and the reset is required from the attackers.
They do manage to take down Larry, but Qadsiah's dive just has not been able to formulate. Human Torch is actually the definition of his other definition. Not for the heat that he's bringing, but the flashlight that he's able to shine onto Tilt's position every single time Tilt's tried to utilize his shift and stealth. Leaf has immediately been able to pixel perfect predict the dash distance and catch the Psylocke out of it. So Qadsiah have been denied the opening that they've been looking for time and time upon again. Tilt slowly but surely is building up to the Dance of the Butterflies, but it's not the speedy burn down that Qadsiah need, and because of that, they're not getting any way of stopping Peps from just walking forward and taking a better numbered fight on main.
Yeah, this is aggressive, maybe even a little bit cocky, as the Rage of Ultron is basically backing Qadsiah into a corner. There's not much to do. It's very hard to disengage, but nobody's gone down to force a full reset. It is just that Rage of Ultron ultimate that can just sort of sit up. You can get it relatively quickly. We've got so much else to sit on, so it's not a big dedication. But Qadsiah almost having all 6 ultimates to work with. Supernova from Leaf is going to be the thing that starts it, and it's going to force out the fate of both worlds. There's the Dance of the Butterflies into the backline from Tilt, but looking at the HP bars from Team Peps, nobody is going even below 90% available. Qadsiah holding on for a good portion of that fight before Leaf actually finds the elimination onto his counterpart on the other side. Invisible boundary from Maluki was available, but left a little bit late to use in this engagement, and progression made from Qadsiah. They're trying to see if they can push the point a little bit more, as Team Peps have had to get off of this point completely.
Yeah, but they just can't commit. They can't find the damage into the backline. The good news is they've been able to sideline the backline entirely off of that point. So A will get grabbed, but this is all Peps right now, and that's really bad news for Qadsiah, a composition that needs space to be able to work with. Tilt and Kaya need to be able to find these engagement spaces to jump onto Team Peps' backline, but by losing that fight now, they've got to walk out of spawn all over again. That's off of the torch onto the Winter Soldier to try and bionic hook pressure out some of these flyers. But Qadsiah's win condition is the dive, and it's just going to be denied.
You see the Team Peps are backing up. That's a hard decision for Team Peps to make in that moment, to give up the point, but to just keep some consistent contest happening to stop Qadsiah from snowballing really up to this choke. So much more time has been bought in this place, and Tilt with the Dance of the Butterflies looking to see if they can find an in. So far Team Peps have been very good at spotting them out, just throwing in some of the damage. Even there Leaf just knowing exactly where Tilt was going to try and jump in, but it doesn't impact anything when it comes to shutting down the damage that's done. A nice 2k found, and the rest of Team Peps falling over like dominoes as Qadsiah find that momentum you were talking about.
Really clean coordination coming through from Qadsiah as well. Kaya on the Venom, just making sure that everyone gets tethered up and held in the Dance of the Butterflies so that no one can tag out of it to not eat one of the damages coming through from those slashes. And now with Qadsiah finally finding the momentum that they're looking for, they can begin this fight already set up. Kaya on that high ground, already on that wall, looking for the dive opportunity, wanting to be able to utilize this Feast of the Abyss that Team Peps are going to have to be vigilant for. Venom has been able to stop Peps as well, fighting around this corner. It's up to Beetle, the Lone Strange, to try and anchor that position. There goes the Venom Soul Resurgence, going to be invested, but it's beaten back by the Psionic Seduction coming through from Milkboy. Lindstrom with the Fate of Both Worlds gives the damage boost to both the Kraken Impact and the Feast of the Abyss, but DRP with the Meteor M has absorbed all of the pressure.
Forced back out by the invisible boundary, however. Team Peps not having ultimates currently, and it's trading picks now as Kaya doing well to keep fighting, finds himself too, and he's able to get out pretty much scot-free. Leaf on a sliver, 8 HP, he's panicking, he wants some help, and unfortunately the help is on the point that also needs a little bit more assistance. Tilt has found so much value over on his Psylocke, and even though Team Peps pretty much had him on lockdown at the start of this map, it's got out of control.
Yeah, now that he's got the space, he's starting to run away with it. It's going to be harder, though, for Qadsiah to grab that space back and see the openness. That long line of sight is perfect for Leaf to be able to scout check out where this Psylocke goes from. Looks like Tilt's going to be trying to play that right side angle, wrap all the way around the back. And yet again, Peps go out into the scout check. They know that the Psylocke's a little bit too close for comfort. Artist keeps looking back to see whether he's going to have to peel the Venom dive commitment coming on through. And he gets grabbed. The force physics pulls him a little bit too close, and he gets taken down.
Just as he was about to have that Rage of Ultron online, just to combo to take some of the attention away, might open up space for Beetle's Eye of Agamotto. Invisible Boundary also might be able to sneak in a couple of unsuspecting Qadsiah players. But they actually give this a lot of respect. They give up this space to work with. Having an invisible boundary of their own can maybe push up and take past where the payload is for a little bit more space. Rage of Ultron now available as Hortus returns to the fight. Meteor M trying to eat up as much as it can. It was a really good pick before by DRP, but he can't quite connect this time around. Soul Resurgence and the Supernova from Team Peps trying to hold back this onslaught, this oncoming storm, as Lindstrom has been farming up these Fate of Both Worlds, these Lunar ultimates so much more. Kaya not really getting any meaningful damage over on the Feast of the Abyss, but the follow-up is there regardless, and with Helis, he has the Kraken's impact that's just going to keep resetting over and over. And Team Peps, they're just holding on for dear life, but as soon as Qadsiah get an inclination of momentum, they are able to snowball this map so well.
It's just dealing now with the staggers coming on through from Peps. Leaf onto the Spider-Man, DRP the Captain America. Hardest actually moves on to the Hela just to have any pick potential. Without the ultimate cycle coming on through, and Tilt says, no, 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 we've got to shut that down immediately. The Venom and the Psylocke combining to hit the backline before Peps can find any form of stabilization, and now Qadsiah will be able to find the full push. We saw that too, why Tilt on that Psylocke is so oppressive for those players to have to deal with. Any point that Team Peps find themselves a little bit too separated from Hardest on that Ultron, he was taken down immediately. As Qadsiah, that last fight, that true fight before the stagger picks come through from the side of Peps, they knew that win condition. Kaya with the Feast of the Abyss, he doesn't find the picks, but what he does do is get the health buzz low enough so that Helis' Kraken impact is the thing that really pushes the payload home.
Yeah, support. Like Strategist Ultimates, I think, from Lindstrom and Maluki have been really well rotated. The Team Peps, they didn't have the kind of hardest moments of like a 4K or a 5K like we saw in the last map. In fact, it was like fairly quiet. One final hit that's actually come in from Hardest kind of goes to show, like, yeah, he's on Ultron for one. Like, we haven't seen him over on the Punisher up until now, but it does feel like that real like impact to just turn a fight around was missing with the triple support comp.
Well, Tilt was taken down once in comparison to the Torch who fell a total of 5 times. So you can see when they were able to stop the Psylocke from really playing the way the Psylocke wanted on point A, the Flyers were finding their value, but the second that we went into B and C and Tilt really was just unleashed. That's when Peps lost control of that situation. Like you said, Maluki and Lindstrom as well, their ultimates have been so good. Maluki actually got picked up for this team because of their Invis woman, Helis told me. So they're getting to play their staple pick. We'll see whether or not they get to play the game they want to go, as Teleport immediately takes Lindstrom out of the fight.
You know, one of your main strategists as well means that this hold from Qadsiah is going to be tough, but Tilt not only evens up the numbers, but actually gets the advantage. Cena's going to bring, I'll be right back, is it going to bring Tilt is just absolutely sending it through Kaya.
Tilt literally sent himself for a Beetle's own strange portal to get the backline that they correctly assumed were playing away from the portal. As Tilt now gets taken down by Leaf, without that Psylocke, Kaya's follow-up is diminished slightly, as Leaf above that high ground position is able to just keep spamming these players down. Invis boundary has to be forced on the side of Qadsiah just to have the confidence and the heal sustain to be able to put themselves into a recontest situation, but that's exactly what Leaf wants. He's building up to that for a supernova if Peps even need it to be able to take control of the situation.
Really good shield has come on to protect Leaf after he gets caught by the Carbon Crush. And we were sort of saying that Team Peps needed a little bit of that 100 HP to 0 burst damage. And Hardest, with the final judgment, should be the one that's carving through this cake and looking to be the one to try to take this point over the edge. Meteor M was used and it sort of allowed this follow-up. But you gotta say, this combination from Leaf, just the dive down, the burst damage, is actually really successful in taking out and picking off these Qadsiah players.
Yeah, something to note as well, DRP throwing that Meteor M, not at Lindstrom. He threw it where he was anticipating the Invis woman to be around the corner of that cover. He knew that she'd be looking to Guardian Shield off the Luna with that one-shot potential and try to pick Maluki off instead. As Team Peps now will be able to put themselves up onto that high ground angle, and it is quite literally protect the Punisher. Protect the Punisher turret so that when Qadsiah try and reset themselves into a position, Helis gets taken down immediately to the mag cannon and Punisher pressure.
This feels very like Beetle in just like, yes sir, I've got you sir. He's even got the shield that's coming from the Magneto to really like pocket how much value he can have in this place. But whilst the focus has gone into Hardest, the supernova up on the sky might be able to, it certainly does, with the connection of DRP, find the backline of Maluki. There was a real problem for Team Peps when it came to dealing with Qadsiah's snowballing effect, and over on this point, it's looking like they're able to match it in a similar vein. Tilt trying to see if he can dive into the backline, but it's the front line actually that's the one that's causing the most issues, and Qadsiah struggling to deal with it.
Forest Healer 2, now over to the Rocket Raccoon. He's going to have the VRV station, as well as the Seer. Damage amplifier coming on through for the side of Team Peps, which might give them an easier time of breaking the B defenses. Kaya does have that Eye of Agamotto, has to be careful though of Larry with the force physics. Punisher, hardest on the turret, just all the way removed from the fight with that damage, has been able to build up the final judgment into the invis boundary. We invade as one Eye of Agamotto was traded for a Force Physics, but it's not enough. Force Physics may stop the Eye, but it doesn't stop the Punisher team up, and that comes on through immediately. Qadsiah try and answer back with an Eye of their own, but it might as well be a speck of dust. Hardest blinks, and it's removed, and final judgment finds the value it was looking for.
Things moving along with a good amount of time. Qadsiah are going to be happy that they finished off this map, but with 0 seconds on the clock, Peps could just get an extra little bit of time added if they can keep just interrupting Qadsiah's resets. They can stop things from progressing. However, there is that Eternal Bond that's now available for Lindstrom. Forced it out early might be nice, but the Meteor M might be just the counter that they need exactly. Aura Stealer switching over onto the Rocket Raccoon. Does have the arm amplifier to work with, and there's the Eternal Bond ready to start this fight. There's the Meteor M trying to find a pick, but it's blocked yet again.
Final judgment comes out. Healers having swapped over to that Storm is going to aid 12% damage boost. Team Peps in high retreat, but it's not enough. Qadsiah chase them down, find one, find two. DOP will be revived thanks to the BRB. The Magneto brought back immediately. The same cannot be said though for hardest. But Peps
gets one, huh?
Huge pick. Lindstrom gets taken down, and immediately by the Punisher. Peps want to take this fight. Out comes the Supernova. Invis boundary even gets invested too, so that Peps can consolidate their performances. And now it's up to Healers with the Omega Hurricane to put a stop to the shenanigans of Peps' side.
Very weird fight. You've got the Bira back to block, DRP back into the engagement. They were trying to stall him out. He's able to get a pick. He goes down, but just as we see Larry dive in with the invisible boundary, he's just a few seconds, a split second maybe, just behind on time. The hardest wants to really put up the ante. Him and Leaf are finding all of the picks, something that they were struggling with on the defense. They're doing a very good job here. The Eye of Agamotto catching on to Leaf at the very least, but that's about it. Kaya is very low on HP, struggling to keep himself up with just this consistent damage that is absolutely churning on through. The final judgment available for Tilt, though, could be a nice counter-attack if Team Peps are overcommitting here.
Lindstrom's going to have the Eternal Bomb too. It's up to DOP. Can he shut down with Meteor M the final judgment and in the same fell swoop catch Lindstrom's Eternal Bond? Qadsiah know that the Magneto has the play. They can't open up with an Eternal Bond into an aggressive final judgment. They need the Meteor M out first. Leaf finds Healers. DOP manages to find the Cloak and Dagger mid-dash until the final judgment still charged up is taken down. Surely Peps will be able to commit the full push. Qadsiah just have a Storm to get out of spawn and potentially try and touch, and it's not to be. Peps with the aggressive play to go first. Qadsiah not wanting to risk the ire of that Magneto fall.
So Qadsiah do get another chance to try to take that first point. 1 minute in order to do so, but that minute is also gifted over to Team Peps. Give them about 2.5 to work with. And whilst, you know, the triple support was nice from Team Peps, you can't say that Hardest, Punisher, Leaf, Torch isn't the way to go. And especially it's given so much freedom. The Vanguards combined in the way that they did with the Ultimates was delicious from Beetle and DRP. Qadsiah maybe weren't just expecting that synergy to come through, because it's almost like an over-dedication in some fights, but when you're at the end of the map for Peps, it's fine to throw whatever you have available at it.
I mean, DRP just getting Magneto through the advanced pick and bans is insane. There's a reason why so often he's the insta-ban for both teams at the same time. The damage that he can provide, especially given the fact that he got buffed this patch, when now you get your right clicks, your mag cannons much more frequently off of just normal time. That's before you even take into account the amount of damage that's getting blocked by your Bulwark coming on through, as we'll have to see whether or not a Strange Portal is going to play havoc with the time bank available for the attacker's side. Does anyone fall for this?
Oh, Kaya not this time. Milk Boy very glad that it's not 2 for 2. Fool me once and all that jazz. For Team Peps, 40 seconds thereabouts to hold on. It really might just come down to progression on the point itself as opposed to the payload moving, but from what we saw from OGC earlier, we could see a bit of a traversal of the map yet again if Qadsiah can get things going. And that Maelstrom pick over onto DRP is the perfect start. The Be Right Back in a bunker position going to suit him a lot better than it did the last time that he was brought back prematurely by the Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah, Team Peps very much playing full on the defensive, looking for the full hold with the rocket right off of the rip. And in the anticipation of one of their players going down early, they get brought back in and can still take the next fight 6v6. Fearless, though, with that cutout boost on that Storm, is making it an unfair mirror matchup for the Punisher. Something that Peps have learned. Hardest is faster to the final judgment, though, even through the invis boundaries from both teams. He's still finding the damage, especially with the Yon Amplifier coming on through. Heals with the Omega Hurricane a little bit later, manages to cut off the disengagement. The bunker position denied for the side of Team Peps, and now Qadsiah should be able to come and prove the picks, which will at least start taking some percentage from A and moving their way into B.
Now, it is only 2.5 minutes for Team Peps to try to outdo, at the very least, try to match exactly what Qadsiah are about to do here. And this point can get out of hand if Team Peps don't take this fight well. And with a final judgment, the Punisher ultimate in hand for Tilt, you have to be very careful, Team Peps. You're walking the tightrope.
Overtime plays, we say a lot of the time, probably aren't going to see the full map finish, but we've seen Insomnia with an overtime play from here be able to full push this very map. Team Peps swap Leaf over to the Storm, so both have access to the same 12% damage boost coming on through for the Goddess boost. Agamotto gets pushed off of the high ledge. Everyone from Peps able to just dance around it. No CC, no opening coming on through for Qadsiah. Psionic Seduction keeps that payload moving. Tilt off of the back of it, tries to take advantage of Peps being forced into the disengage, but the Punisher doesn't find the picks. Instead, it's Leaf with the Omega Hurricane right over the objective before it can get to the second checkpoint. DRP, Beetle all throwing their damage on top of the Storm, and it's not the safety of the Eye of the Hurricane that Qadsiah was searching for. They get torn asunder.
It was just holding out for as long as possible, but once that Omega Hurricane came out, it just burst for Qadsiah. Everybody started to dip, and Team Peps, glad that it didn't get a little bit too silly with how much Qadsiah could push things along, but it's got to be in the back of the mind of like, we only have 2.5 minutes to match that, and if this first point is a good hold from Qadsiah, it might not even get that far, and we might find ourselves on a third map.
We can very realistically find ourselves on a third map. If Peps, like you said, let anything get out of hand in terms of ultimate economy, if the defenders are able to find a first pick against the attacker side before they can build up ultimates and get into a position where the poke fight goes evenly so that both teams match ultimate economy as opposed to it being one-sided to the defense and all of a sudden Peps are on the back foot for a minute where they have to take fight after fight dry without burning an ultimate. They just have to bank up. It can really quickly spiral in and out of control. That's even why we saw Peps on their defense go for the rocket to make sure that if such an early pick did come through onto the defense, they didn't just have to pack it in.
Set up Team Peps trying to take as much as they can from the armors and the extra tidbits and trinkets, I suppose, that you would get from the Penny Parker rocket combo. And just a potential, looking to be a portal play, but you've seen this a couple of times. Set up the portal to try the turret to battle on the site, but you've also got a turret play up in the sky. It's going to disrupt Team Peps and break a couple of those bigger cooldowns, but Tilt has gone down early.
Hardest was still in spawn, which meant that he was receiving the healing and could fire through the teleport location that Kaya provided so that Tilt was taken down, and Qadsiah don't have a rocket. They're down the Punisher for this fight. The floodgates have opened. Peps understand there's blood in the water. The Punisher is not there. They want to be able to take this space permanently away from Qadsiah, but they haven't been able to find a pick to do so. What they have been able to do, though, look at the difference in terms of ultimate charge. Tilt, barely 50%. Hardest, already a full heart ahead of him. And out comes Final Judgment before Qadsiah have a single strategist ultimate to look behind.
We're finding Kaya as well, so that means Seraphim Shield is not going to be there to stop much of what what's about to come in from Hardest. He has been a hero for this team, and considering he wasn't on Punisher at the start of this one, you probably sat there thinking of your team Peps like, please just play Punisher all of the time, every time, please. Because now things are moving with a good amount of time on the board still, Moxie.
Yeah, Qadsiah didn't turn the other cheek. They did not elegantly accept that the fight had run away from them. They invested in this boundary in that one. And unfortunately, they're not going to have it now to try and live the Omega Hurricane that's about to come on through. If they use Omega Hurricane, or rather Fate of Both Worlds to deal with Omega Hurricane, they lose the pocket against Tilt. They might try and combine both of them just so that they can manage to blitz down Leaf's ultimate, but Aura Stealer with the Qadsiah can amplify the damage. And unfortunately for Qadsiah, all this time they don't take a fight. That payload is moving.
Just over 30 seconds for Team Peps to make this a 2-0 and make their way into playoffs. Qadsiah want to shut this down, bring us to a map 3. Omega Hurricane's going to try to clear the lines for Helis, pulls himself back to the rest of the team, and is going to force out the Qadsiah from Aura Stealer. Still coming over to this mirror back, bringing back anybody that just needs that quick resurrect to bring themselves into the fight. Final judgment from Tilt in a bit of a low ground position, so at least Leaf can back out a little bit more. Hardest is going to respond in kind as we see the Eye of Agamotto's coming out both sides. Kaya gets stunned, he's able to survive, and all of these ultimates from Qadsiah. The book has been thrown down, the Eye of Agamotto shoved back from Larry, whilst the invisible boundary is going to try to keep their team alive. The numbers are about even. Hardest is yet again pulling the numbers potentially back into a neutral position for Team Peps to work with, and Kaya just battling on, full charge Maelstrom, bursting out damage but not leading into any eliminations. It's a real deadlock here with Qadsiah backing off, holding on for a dear life here.
Helis back on the Magic to come back faster. Leaf also back on the Wolverine to grab players and deposit them into Peps' waiting arms. And that's going to be a pick onto both of the Vanguards from Qadsiah. Deprived now. The source of Sasay and Maluki is not going to be able to build up the invis boundary in time. And Team Peps are finding the turnaround that they so desperately needed. It looked like maybe Qadsiah would be able to turn it around with the last minute defense, but no. Peps closed the door on a potential free mapper, and we finished the series 2-0.
Does mean that Qadsiah eliminated from stage 1, and you've got a feel for them because not only were a lot of their series just incredibly close, this whole series was on a knife's edge. The full domination mode being played out, 99% versus 99% right at the end, and here the overtime push for a second go around Symbiotic Showdown. Good times put up, but still not good enough as Team Peps really getting a feel of the meta now and seeing the likes of Hardest and Leaf really shine with the way that the draft pick phase is going. It makes you very excited and honestly ponder how far they can go in this tournament, because a 4th place finish in their group and like top 8 finish over in playoffs feels like underselling them a little bit because they looked exceptional here.
Yeah, Peps, I mean, they're so good in those high-pressure, high-octane moments where we hit into overtime. They do not lose their cool. If anything, they become so much stronger for it. As there were so many smart plays that they decided to do, like Aura Stealer going over to the Rocket, understanding that Hardest would be a big target of focus for Qadsiah to try and take down. They know how quickly Hardest bulbs that final judgment. They could not risk overtime fight going long enough that he would build another. And then we've got DRP coming back on the Venom, Leaf on the Wolverine. They understood that there was a window of opportunity for Qadsiah. The door was starting to open for that defense to hold on, and it hinged on invis boundary being built up. Maluki was 72% when he got taken down. And off of the back of that, both Kaya and Milkboy were heavy focus from the side of Team Peps so that the Invis woman wasn't able to build the boundary that would have allowed Qadsiah to stabilize, because their respawns being so close to their respawn in terms of where that...
Foremost, congratulations for qualifying for playoffs. It was a good result, but honestly, I guess it's... Where do we even sort of begin, Moxie? What is the thing that stands out to you the most to ask about?
teleport play, second round of Symbiotic Surface when you were attacking. Who decided that you would use the Strange Teleport to have a better angle into theirs?
On Clinta?
Yes.
I think it was a call from Artist or Beetle, but I'm not sure, to be honest. We were kind of ready that they will TP us, so we just, cancel the TP and just play for next.
I think on both the maps that we saw in this series, it was a bit of a slow start from you guys, trying stuff like the triple support. We saw the Jeff, obviously, over on the first domination map, and then the Ultron dedication from Hardest that after he swapped over to Punisher, things seemed to go a lot more swimmingly. Could you talk us through like what the initial goal was with the Jeff, for example, on the team, and ultimately why are you guys not playing Hardest over on the Punisher all the time? Because he tore through people, obviously with your help as the Magneto as well.
The first map, it's domination, right? So we just try to do a push comp with Jeff and just like Emma choke. We just go full coin. With Form, with Jeff Bubble, with Mantis damage boost. So, it didn't really work, so we kind of swapped up at the end. But that was pretty much the goal, just to go in and kill them all.
So a lot of the time we see you guys, it goes down to the absolute wire with so many overtime pushes that you're either able to win or lose. How exactly is the team environment? Like, what is required from all of your players to make sure that everybody is able to keep fighting in overtime?
You just gotta be locked in and focused. If you're not focused, you cannot really play. We got it 299 and then we just played for it. We just stay focused, winnable, guys. Stay focused, and we won.
I remember the initial Team Peps team was very good at this in the Invitational, just taking those kind of long fights and holding on. As somebody that's not completely new to the team, but wasn't in the Invitational, what is it about this team of Team Peps that makes them so good in these last-ditch attempt fights? Because they're able to survive, they're able to find picks and coordinate stuff really well. You had a really good combination, I think, with the Doctor Strange ultimates with the Meteor M right at the end of Clintar. How are you able to do that in those high-octane situations? Is it the full French-speaking aspect, or just that everybody's more vibes focused that you're just able to push through unstoppable fights?
No, for example, at the end, he just beatled the Tasket for a bubble. I had my ult, so I knew that the cloak would ult for beetle, so I just preferred my ult and we killed them. I think it's a lot of calm, it's a lot of, being focused, a lot of calm, playing for the win, and I think honestly everything can happen.
And since you've won, we know now that your opponent is going to be Virtus Pro. How are you feeling going into that matchup, especially given the fact that we saw Virtus Pro lose to Radon and have such a dominant performance 2-0 today?
I think we lost his audio. I was panicking there because
I think we lost his audio.
Oh my god, my heart! Because I got these headsets yesterday, and I was a little bit the cable's a little bit wonky, so I was like, hold on. I was just trying to pull up whatever fonts I had available, but yeah.
Just apparently so good at Marvel Rivals that they have the ability to just shut down the server immediately.
Literal silence, yeah. Virtus Pro pulling the plug is I don't want you revealing anything. We're going to see you in the server tomorrow, but he's back. Yeah, we'll get him back. We'll finish off that question because I think it is a good one, Moxie. So hopefully we can hear you again. Yeah,
hello.
Sorry about
that. Do you hear me?
Yeah, okay, you now.
It's sorry, it's my bad. I did something bad.
You're okay.
So
that's okay.
What was the question again? Sorry.
Do you have anything that you're feeling headed into your match against Virtus Pro? Because obviously we've seen Virtus Pro take their first loss, but then earlier today, that's apparently motivated them because they had such a dominant 2-0.
I don't think VP is ready to lose, but we're gonna try our best. So I think we're just gonna prepare for it and try our best and see how it goes. It's gonna be hard, the match. It's gonna be really hard.
Yeah, you'll keep them sort of pegged down, I think. Also, Team Peps were the team to first ever take a map against Virtus Pro, so you never know. Might be the first team to eliminate them from a tournament at this stage before we get to playoffs. So there is that. Thank you very much for DRP. Congrats again.
No worries. Thank you, guys.
See how cracked you were on the Magneto, and honestly, teams are probably not going to let you play that anymore in the future from the looks of it, unless they want to go for the Emma Frost